What's the crack? Welcome back to the Irish Voice podcast for week 2 of our YouTube channel. This week we have 4 topics for you. The first one of which is talking about that Lyon game. The second one is the Wolves game and Manchester United's inconsistencies. Do we try and catch up? Why are they like this in the league? Third one, a question to be asked is Marcus Rashford's performances heaping pressure on Man United's recruitment strategy, i.e. Mateus Cunha. And to tie off, we are going to have a simple chat around what is to come with Manchester United staring 17th position in the Premier League in the face if they get beat by Bournemouth. So first off, Lyon. Kieran, how did you watch the Lyon game? How did you feel about the Lyon game? Tell me your thoughts.
Well, my first thought was, here we go again. Sitting, same as the first leg, sitting comfortably. Everyone said, I was thinking it. Commentators were saying it, we're cruising, looks easy, and then we give away a couple of diabolical goals. Now, this time it wasn't Onana's fault, but I think we just invited pressure on ourselves, and just the 2 stupidest goals to give away. And even with 10 men, Lyon had their tails up at Old Trafford, and we looked panicked. Like, oh no, this is our season going down the toilet. What's going on here, lads? I don't know what it was, what Ruben said to them when they were 4-2 down. Must have said something, or something must have clicked with them, but we've seen it too many times. We've seen it when they had to concede the first goal to start playing well, or something of that ilk, But saying that, it was a fantastic comeback. 7 minutes. Only Manchester United making a comeback like that. Like, that'll not be how can any team replicate that? As bad as we are, that's one of the things you love most about this club, is like they'll always produce moments like that. No matter how bad we are throughout the season, Manchester United can pull off games, spells, moments like that of magic, and just pulls you back in. You're like, fine, I'll have to watch the next game now. I think I'm done for the season. I'm not watching them anymore. They're shite, but it was amazing, and my heart was thumping throughout it, and it just put me in such a good mood the next day. And it's been a while, I have to say, since waking up the next morning, going to work in a good mood after a United game, which was a nice change.
Yeah, there was an elation about it I felt with this one, where it just felt like, oh my God, this is one of those moments that you're just glad to watch as any football fan. You take, like, people always try to throw shade at it and turn around and say it's Lyon, he's at home, it's Europa League. No. In the heat of the moment, it was special. It was really, really special. It was a comeback for the ages on a European night. Mother, you turned it off, didn't you?
Yes, I did. So I didn't get real-time elation. I had to watch replay elation. But I'm sort of glad I did switch it off, because I think I would have taken a heart attack and ended up in Dizzy Hill. But no, I agree with Kieran. Our club, although it's going through the mire at the minute, has given us special times like the Lyon game. But dear God, I will wish that they would just win comfortably to settle your nerves.
I don't think they're capable of it.
Sorry?
I don't think when I say they're not capable of it, I'm not saying that flippantly. I don't think they're good enough to do that.
Yeah, they're not at the minute, Rory. They're so inconsistent. Some brilliant passages of play, and then brain dead passages as well.
But I think we invite our own pressure. The writing was on the wall for a Lyon goal before that, in the way they couldn't shackle Ryan Sharkey. And I think it's showing the deficiencies. When you have the two, right, when we have Casemiro and Manuel Ugarte in there, okay, and you've got those 3 lads in the back line, nothing's coming through the middle anymore, which was one of the main criticisms of Manchester United. So easy to run through our midfield, and all the pressures are front facing. You just have to go at Manchester United and you'll cut through us and cut through the middle. That's not happening anymore. But what I'm seeing personally, maybe you guys disagree, is the likes of a Ryan Sharkey or that lad Fofana that came on, the young fella that came on that other side.
Oh, he was good.
You're able to rip through the wing now, because
but he was
the
good.
fullbacks are playing as wing backs and not understanding when to be fullbacks. The 3 at the back are playing very narrow, so they're the players to get in behind them in wing-back positions. And it seems it's horrible as a United fan because you solve one problem and another one creeps up. We're not susceptible to the run through the middle now, but we're getting killed on the wings.
Yeah. I think you're right, Roy, and I agree with you. Our fullbacks do not know their role properly.
No.
It's all or nothing.
They're also poor. Diogo Dalot and Dorgu are poor. Poor examples of fullbacks.
Diogo's positioning in defence has been shocking.
So is Dorgu's. Dorgu is only in the door, and I have to say, he's a massive disappointment. He's all right going forward, and he can put a ball into the box, but as a consequence of having absolutely no defensive ability.
But I told you that when they bought him. I said, yeah, he's great at bombing forward, but there's question marks for his defensive abilities.
Yeah.
And he's raw.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's very, very raw.
Mm-hmm.
He shouldn't be start, but he's starting through necessity. But he's definitely a squad player at present.
And he's only a young lad. He could come good, but I'm actually shocked at how poor he is in a defence position. And I mean, like, they had to bring Luke Shaw onto the pitch on the 45th minute the other night, and you knew why it was coming. They had got into Shaw's ear and been like, please shackle Ryan Sharkey. Stay with Sharkey and don't let him in. Don't let him. And then what they did, Leon, quite brilliantly, as you would do if you were any sort of tactician, is they got Sharkey to swap sides.
Yeah, but he should have been shackled from the start, Rory.
But we couldn't do it. No one could figure out how to do it. Our holding midfielder didn't want to pick him up because he was a forward. Our fullbacks were incapable of staying with him or making tackles with him, which is so poor. I looked at it and thought of a couple of players that I look at in around the Premier League, okay? Brilliant defenders. One who's away. I don't think, if you had had him against the likes of Kyle Walker would have just broke him. He would have put it in physically in the first couple of minutes and then kept doing that till he got the yellow card. But he also would have kept up with Sharkey. Kirk Hayes, I think, could have shackled him from a Bournemouth point of view. I think Udogie at Spurs, to use a really lame example of people around us, would have done better. I just look at our fullbacks and I'm like, these boys can't defend. Dalot we know about. That's happened for years. But I think Sharkey, to go back for context, I think Sharkey changed the game in the way that he played.
Well, absolutely. I think like Leon I wasn't worried about Leon after Sharkey came off.
No, I think they admitted that they'd done their job. That it was going to be a Leon night. But I mean, one thing, why are we so susceptible to crosses? Quarantine Toliso's goal is a complete fluky, lucky goal, but you have to be in there to get those. And United seem to concede an awful lot of pinball-esque type goals into the back of the net. What is that about? Like, in your opinion, is a goalkeeper, centre back, full back, who takes responsibility there?
No, we don't clear the ball properly. We don't, like, the old way, the old, tactics was, if in doubt, knock it out. But we're trying to finesse it out of the back. At times we're just booting it to the halfway line. Yeah. We don't clear the danger. And in not clearing the danger, we're putting ourselves in danger.
But there are ways to play it. Like, Arsenal aren't one for hoofing the ball down the pitch, but they have Saliba and Gabriel.
Yeah, I know, Rory, and you just hit the nail on the head. They have a cohesive unit. We haven't at the minute. Maguire's playing, De Ligt's playing, Mazraoui's playing. Do you know what I'm saying?
But who would your cohesive unit be going in next year?
Sorry,
Frederickson there at the weekend.
Frederickson, yeah.
Yeah. Who would your cohesive unit be then? Who would you pick as the starting centre backs in Manchester United?
Who had to start? Yoro, De Ligt, all fit.
Mm-hmm.
Yoro, De Ligt, and oh my God, I forgot his name.
Martinez.
Yes, thank you. That's it.
But we've seen them and they didn't look great. Do you remember we used to go back to the Earth and Hag arguments? Like, I'm reliving previous arguments, and we used to say about, I think it was Raphael Varane at the time. We're like, United would be much better if Varane was coming into the team. But Varane was fit and he was there and we'd seen it and it wasn't good. I feel like I've had this conversation with United fans and I'm reliving some sort of weird time loop here. United fans seem to be baying for Lisandro Martinez to play with Matthijs de Ligt and Lenny Yoro, but they did play and they were shit. So I don't get that. Are we saying that they haven't played enough to be a cohesive unit?
They haven't played enough.
So it's going to, because I don't think that unit will ever come. I don't rate Lisandro Martinez or Matthijs de Ligt in the 3. I think you're too shy of a cohesive unit there. In fact, if you gave me a fully fit Harry Maguire and a fully fit Matthijs de Ligt, not just because of his goal scoring, I would play Maguire. Just think he's more of a leader.
It's different of opinion. And I think Martinez was coming good, really good in that system until he got injured.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, he was like, to be fair, starting to pop up with key passes and assists there as well. And I think Lenny Yoro earned a spot there as well in that system.
I like Yoro.
Yeah, I really like him, and he seems to be, like I mentioned last week, putting in the hard yards in the gym as well. He's, getting the physical side of his game. He knows he has to be more physical in the Premier League, I think.
Bulk up a bit.
Yeah, and you can notice it already. Fair play to that, but it's really hard. If all fit, it is hard to pick a cohesive back three. I know you're saying Martinez and they haven't played enough together. Yeah, and I do agree with that to an extent. Then you look at how de Ligt's improved in the system, and how key Harry Maguire has been for us. Did he cost 80 million because it was like 40 million for the defender and 40 million for the striker?
But what is the improvement bar from Matthijs de Ligt? Shite average.
No, I don't think that. I just think we've all, the United as a team, have been shite average all season.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? That's the question. So, like, cohesive defensive unit that stops the mistakes and stuff coming in. Are you really confident as United fans that Matthijs de Ligt is that boy? That Matthijs de Ligt can lead the Ruben Amorim back three? That he is going to be the all-encompassing anchor defender, and you're happy with him to be in there?
I think so.
I don't know. There's not much to be like at the minute. The way we're just look at where we are in the league. There's not much to be happy about. You can't say 100% on any player apart from Bruno Fernandes, in my opinion. But do I see signs in games where there's a possibility that players like de Ligt could be that player in that position for Ruben Amorim? Yeah, but just I think as a whole, it can't really. What's the word I'm looking for? It's hard to it's hard to individualize when everyone's been like every teammate affects the other.
Yeah. But that's the system. And sorry, I'm trying to build a case here to turn around and say Ruben Amorim's system is wrong for these Manchester United players. Ruben Amorim is not going to get the best out of these United players playing his system. And I think Ruben Amorim's tactics and system cost 4 goals against Lyon, because I think it was very easy once Fofana and Sharkey got up ahead of steam to cause Manchester United real problems. Now, I was really buoyed by the fact that Manchester United got back into that game. It was a fantastic win and stuff like that. But I have to say that all of the problems I seen United having came from Fofana and Sharkey getting far too much space out in that wing and cutting and hurting us. And I don't think they're near the top 20 wingers in Europe. Do you know what I mean? But when you're Manchester United, you have to be aspiring to be up against the top teams. Now, you flip that to the Premier League and you look at the problems we have against the big teams, you can see where they come from. Because if they were able to do that to us, it doesn't bode well for the future.
Yeah, I just finished my point there, and I think you're right in the sense that the frailties are there in our wing backs now, in the wings now. I think we've just I think it's pretty nailed on. I know we need to sort out our attacking positions, and I don't want to skip ahead later on, but it looks like we are on the ball in those attacking positions in the transfer market coming up. But it's definitely, apart from the goalkeeper as well. I think wing back is, especially because it's so key to the way Ruben wants to play football. Now I know Amad Diallo's coming back. I think he's going to be. It looks like he'll be the Sharon, maybe the right hand side maybe.
I think
he plays well in that position. He can cut in and play in that 10 role. Because that's part of.
He can drive. And that's what and Amorim nailed that afterwards. He said, look, only Garnacho in that team can drive and take a man on. Not effectively, but he's the only person that's the outlet there to do that. Uh-huh. So I'm not being negative when it comes to that. I'm just saying there's frail, like even in the wake of it was fantastic and phenomenal to be out in a pub as a Manchester United fan and to sit it through the doom and gloom and watch the Liverpool fans slag and the Chelsea fans. and all the rest, and people out for different games, and then boom, it came. And it was amazing. It was a brilliant win. I'm just saying, we're sitting now on the Wednesday following it, and everything simmers down and tempers down. I agree with Kieran. You're probably never going to see a comeback like that happen in any European game again. It was in the space of time where we had to do it was exceptional. But on a podcast, 3 people told me United, you have to ask the question, how in the name of God did we get to that point? It should never have happened. But then you lead into the Wolves game, guys, okay? And Manchester United were largely dominant in terms of possession and the chances, can't score goals again, and end up leaving with a loss, okay? So, to that, I'm going to ask a question. Should Amorim be doing better?
Yes.
Oh, Mum, straight in. Give me your thoughts on that one, Mum.
Well, he should be doing better. And I know he's trying to implement this new system, and the fullbacks are not helping in this system, and the fullbacks are vital to this system. So, but our strikers are dire. They are. And whether they've been starved of service, and that's what I alluded to earlier on the podcast, Harry Amas and Patrick Dorgu were putting crosses in, and there was absolutely nobody there in the box. Nobody attacking the ball. He should be doing better, but the strike, our big problem is our lack of goals. Not the goals we're letting in, our lack of goals. And that has to be addressed. I don't care who they sell to get whoever they want in. That has to be addressed in the summer.
Yeah, I partially agree. I tell you where I play devil's advocate in this one, okay? If I whip the ball in 6 times as a Manchester United fullback and 6 times it hits the box, okay? Yourself and Kieran will sit and talk about it at the weekend and say, did you see Rory crossing the ball into the box? Like, where was our striker there? If you don't hit a target in any way, shape or form with a cross, you failed. There should be no positivity or praise given to someone who whips the ball into the box like Dorgu and Amas aimlessly and doesn't hit a target. Yes, they crossed the ball, their crossing was shit. Highland is not great.
Rory.
Well, name once where Rasmus Highland get on the end of one.
But that's the point I'm trying to make.
Saying. He should have got.
That's what I'm trying to make. You know, because
so
they were good crosses, some of them.
So he should have anticipated exactly where the ball was going.
Exactly, that's what good strikers do.
So there's no onus on the person crossing the ball in to anticipate where Highland would want to move to. I've seen Harry Amas and Patrick Dorgu play the weekend. I think they're both shit. I'm just going to throw it. I don't think Harry Amas is a good fullback. I don't see it. I don't see any positivity in that lad. Can't defend.
No, I agree with you. He's not ready yet.
Patrick Dorgu, a lot of fluff for nothing.
Not ready yet.
Yeah.
You know, and I get your point on crossing, but I didn't see one cross that was threatening. I didn't see one cross that hit somebody and I thought, oh, that could have went in. Unless I'm wrong, did you guys see one?
I seen a few. There was a few, Rory, from Rasmus Highland where I can't I'll say Highland last year we need a bit of confidence in him. Would have got on the end of a couple of them. I would have been sitting comfortably a couple of goals.
Were they full-blown chances or half chances?
They weren't chances. What we're trying to say is.
But were they chances?
The number 9.
You're nitpicking here, Rory. You really are. If you cross the ball, we've all played football, right? If there's a good cross to come in, your striker anticipates that, right? Gets himself a good striker. The mark of good striker is his positioning.
And the mark of a good winger would leave nothing to chance and put the ball on the striker's head or put the ball on the striker's foot. And that's what I'm saying. Did that happen once? Or was Rasmus Highland having to make an effort to get on the end of it?
But all strikers have to make an effort, Rory, when the cross goes into the box.
Okay, we'll agree to disagree. I think you want to dig out Rasmus Highland because it's easier than admitting that Manchester United service.
No, it's only because it was Rasmus Highland. I am getting it, all our strikers. And that's what I'm saying. Is it because they've been starved of service for so long that they can't, or that they're 2 yards behind a cross coming into the box? Because when was the last time crosses went into the box, Kieran? Garnacho hardly does it. Yeah, no. Dallo hardly does it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking it up, the stats in FootMob here, okay? Manchester registered one big chance.
Mm-hmm.
One.
That's what
So they had taken their big chance of the entire game, okay, according to the stats of FootMob. They had a draw 1 each. So do you know what I mean? It looks good because they haven't crossed the ball in a while, whipping the ball in at Rasmus Højlund, and it's easy to dig out the striker and say, oh, he didn't get on the end of it. He didn't do this, he didn't do that. What we're going by is Manchester United had one big chance all game and didn't score. One.
Yeah, and I think that our season's been so poor that I'm probably clutching at straws here. Oh yes, our fullbacks put in crosses. Do you know what I'm saying?
And I'm trying to be argumentative to drive at that. Do you know what I mean? It's easy to. It just seems like a very easy out at the minute. It's Højlund's fault. Ariam Moss and Dorgu would look better if Højlund put the ball in the net. Ariam Moss and Dorgu are shit, guys.
I'm not just talking about putting the ball in the back of the net, Roy. I'm talking about getting on crosses.
Oh yeah, look, you can do that better.
So it's just that's it's not telepathy, but that chemistry's not there with that team.
And that is my point. Do you know what I mean? It's not just on Rasmus Højlund. Harry Maas and Patrick Dorgu don't know where to put the ball for Rasmus Højlund. Rasmus Højlund doesn't know where to be from the crosses. There is no cohesion in this unit. But I just think for Ruben Amorim at the minute, and why I ask should he be doing better, is he keeps chop changing the team, which I don't think is to the benefit of the players. He blames the Europa League and says he has to make wholesale changes. Okay, I partially get that. But there's ways and means to do that he's not doing. It doesn't help himself that he had to play an extra 30 minutes against Lyon because his team capitulated again, largely down to his system. You know, he should be doing better than he is.
I agree.
What do you think, Kieran?
I'm on the fan. It's hard to say because, you know, you can only do so much with what you've been given. And I think a lot of that team needs scrapped. You can only make them run so hard or do, you know, they train well and they work hard during the week, and then it's the same story every year. See every manager. They don't show up on the pitch, and it's just come home to roost now. And you know, it's in a case where now we're finally, after how many years, getting rid of players that should have gone 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, agree.
And you know, don't get me wrong, I'm sure Amorim's doing what he can. You know, we've already said, there's a lot of players in that squad that have no business in a system of Ruben Amorim's, and that's a big issue. Now, any of said you have to come now or never.
Yeah,
you know, Ruben didn't want to join the club until the summer, where he would have got a transfer. We don't know how the season would have went if Ten Hag had stayed in the job. But we've got in the top and around them places, we don't know. We'll never know. But I think we've cried out for a long time. I think for a manager to come in with a tactical know-how, a style of play that's exciting and works, and it's proven that it works.
Yeah.
And get players in, clear the decks. As I said last week, Mourinho said, you know, clear the house before you buy new furniture.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree with you, but to your point, Amorim's only done 1 of 3. It's clear the decks. Yeah. That's it. It's not exciting.
Yeah,
he hasn't implemented.
No, it's not exciting.
No one's playing better football.
No, it doesn't have to be exciting, but it's something that we need, and it's something we haven't been given. No manager's been given.
He's just lost the Wolves.
No manager's been given that. Yeah, I get that. He lost to 14 other teams as well, 14 other games as well.
So it's not even practical.
You know, so
it's impractical if anything. If anything, it's starting to look bafflingly naive.
Look, we're in survival mode. We haven't been relegated, and we're not getting relegated. So
no, and he's not stupid either.
I suppose I'm at the point now where I'm like, who does Amorim keep? It's the same thing from every United fan because we're all so frustrated, and you're right in what you're saying. It's the same thing and repeat. But who is he keeping? You're not getting 11 players in summer. 6 saying this.
No.
You're not getting 11 players in summer. So who in that team are you keeping, Paul? Bruno Fernandes is one, right? Okay. Who else is playing your system? Because our goalkeeper has been hot, but we don't blame you. Ugarte, okay. Bruno and Ugarte.
You keep Menu.
He'll keep Menu.
Yeah, and Ahmad.
Where does he play Menu?
That's the question. And he likes Mount as well.
Like if he's keeping Bruno, right? Oh yeah, he keep Mount, but Mount can't start. You know, who does he keep him start? This is the big question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who does he keep and start?
That's the problem with
He
this
needs to
squad.
get a team together that can go into the Champions League if they get through the Europa League, okay, and exist twice a week, which he's already stated he finds very difficult in the Premier League. The Champions League is going to be a step up for you, Paul, right? The Premier League we will not accept you being in the bottom half of the table next year, irregardless of whether you're playing Champions League or not.
Nope.
So you need to get 8 or 9 of the Manchester United starting 11 now in place, in situ, because I doubt he's getting 5 starters in summer. And I just don't see it. I don't see where 5 players in our current setup have got to a point where I can see them as Ruben Amorim players. Lenny Yoro, to me, is only starting to show when Lenny Yoro can, but he's massive potential and not a whole lot of starting. I don't agree with either of you. I'm a taste to let. I'm not a taste to let fan. I don't agree with it. No one's going to convince me the fullbacks can play it. Ugarte and Bruno would be the 2 I say. Yes. I think Ugarte and Bruno, definitely. And then I look at the front 3 and I wouldn't take anything. Ahmed Diallo is starting to show real signs that he could be in there. But you're going to trust Manchester United's future success for next season, the Champions League and top 4 potential on Ahmed Diallo's shoulders. A boy that hasn't started in the Premier, it hasn't been a Premier League starter until someone thrust him into it this season and he showed a bit of potential. And that's all it was. Flashes of potential. So to that, I'm saying Ruben Amorim, to me, is failing at the minute. Big time.
Forget it.
Do you know what I mean? I just don't, I have no confidence.
It looks terrible. It looks terrible. And, he could turn around and win the Europa League.
He still failed. Yeah. I don't care if he wins. If he wins the Europa League for me this year and finishes 17th, he failed. It's a disgusting finish in the Premier League. All he has shown is that he can do the same thing that Eric Ten Hag was capable of. He can put a cup run together. He's good in moments. But when it comes to the consistency or the physicality of the Premier League, he hasn't got a fucking clue what he's at. Not in the notion.
Well, that's why... Sorry. Yeah, I think that's why next season's so important. I think this season's a bit like... It's the biggest hall pass you're ever going to get in your managerial career. And that's putting it lightly.
It is.
No, this season's a buy.
But he's treating it like one,
next
isn't he?
Season,
he is.
Treating it like one.
He is. Yeah, he knows he has a free hit.
That he's failed this season. So
he's not stupid.
What he goes next season?
Yeah, there are circumstances to be looked at. He got rid of his front 3 and, he is clearing the decks and stuff like that. But I'm shocked because I actually was a big fan of his. I'm shocked at how poor some players are under. And Diogo Dalot is one for me. Thought that's a match made in heaven. Portuguese compatriots. Dalot wants to play as a right wing back, wants less defensive responsibility. And he's just looked shocking. He's almost regressed. He needs to go back to Ten Hag, where he played as a 4 and he just looked better. Now, not great, but he looked better. Rasmus
Absolutely. Don't know what's going on there.
His confidence on the floor. He just needs a tap-in. A couple of tap-ins.
Give him a penalty, Bruno, for God's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think he suits that system. I think the system is too narrow for him. I think they're looking at a striker that comes to the ball and holds up the ball and digs in. A bit like, can't think of a good example. It's really good.
I knew you wanted to say it, Rory. Just say it.
Delap is brilliant at it. He's very, very good. But there's another couple of examples around. That striker that wants to come and show for the ball. That's not Rasmus Højlund. Rasmus Højlund wants to run off play. He wants bodies going everywhere where he can exist in the chaos and make his 1 week twilight run, and that works. And do you know what? It's a brilliant segue into this. Marcus Rashford has come alive at Aston Villa because Aston Villa play a very attacking, free-flowing style of football, which is brilliant to watch. And as Roy Keane rightfully said last night, when Marcus Rashford can see the grass in behind him, he's almost unplayable. And Unai Emery plays to his strengths. I don't think United at the minute under Ruben Amorim are playing to Rasmus Højlund's. Not that he has a lot of them, but to his strengths. And then we're just throwing him to the wolves now and saying, oh no, he doesn't suit the system, he's terrible, whatever. I think his managers failed him. Ruben Amorim must have interviewed for this role. What did he tell the United board about what he could do about the careers of Garnacho and Rasmus Højlund to be allowed to let Rashford, Anthony and Sancho go in one window? What shit must he have talked to Jason Wilcox and that to turn around and say, don't worry about that, I can get these boys firing. You're about to finish 17th.
Yeah. We'll never know what he said, but It must have sounded good. Just like where do you go from there? Like,
Do you think they will finish 17th? I don't think they beat Bournemouth this weekend.
no, it's
You don't know with this team.
I think I do.
yeah, I think we're due. We'll have to get another league win eventually, don't we?
Yeah, well, fingers crossed.
It's just regressed to a point now where you're looking at it and you kind of expect, like the Newcastle loss. And I keep saying this. If we had to get out of there with 2-1, it's turning going, yeah. I'm just glad that we kept the score down. And it comes out as 4-1. And even at 4-1, they were all saying this is an embarrassment and stuff. It was like, is it? Should we not have expected this as Man United fans? Sandwiched in between Europa League games, the tournament we have to go for, we play one of the better teams and they absolutely destroy us. To be expected, isn't it?
More or less. I think the way, especially the Newcastle, they're on when the high they were on to win the trophy, and we know what Newcastle can do, and they have that cohesive, settled, aggressive, pressing team.
Yeah. Good midfield.
Yeah, like that midfield is class.
Yeah,
and they've two big old school defenders there, brilliant keeper and Pope. Trippier, Livramento, wing backs, Isak. There's some team.
But I think the most impressive thing is how it was assembled. Did anyone know who Bruno Guimaraes was before he signed for Newcastle? I did not. Wasn't Joe Linton the failed striker that no one wanted to? I mean, it's an absolute testament to Eddie Howe that he has put that Newcastle team together and it's playing as well as it is. Jacob Murphy. Where did Jacob Murphy come out of? He has had the season of his life. He's just so direct and so confident. And it leads me into the third point that I wanted to make. Is Marcus Rashford now heaping pressure on the Manchester United's recruitment strategy? Is he really setting United up to fail with his performances for Aston Villa? Because what happens if Cunha doesn't replace him as effectively as I hope that he does?
Aren't they all saying now, they're talking about him, he wants to come back to United, Rashford?
So I thought he came out today and said that he couldn't see himself back at Manchester United.
I thought
he wasn't ruling it out.
He said he wasn't ruling it out. The quote was the opposite. And Rooney's come out, Rooney come out and make a statement and all, and Rio Ferdinand, and I know take what the legends say with a pinch of salt sometimes, but
true.
They did have some points, but again, my thing is, where does he learn? Does Rashford adapt and play the left winger or left wing back role? And cut in and do all that? I don't know. I don't think so.
I think the club are banking on his sale.
Yeah.
To get players in. I think he's one of the ones. Garnacho's probably another one.
Yeah, that's the one I think that's I've seen today, and so the socials that they're going to cash in on Garnacho in the summer.
Yeah, they'll get incredible money for the both of them. So, and that's what apparently Ruben Amorim was told, that if you want players in, we have to get players out that door. So I'm going to get good fees for them. I can't see Rashford coming back.
Not under Amorim.
No.
Yeah.
And that's why I think he's excelling at. We discussed this last week as well. Why he's excelling under Emery is because Emery is playing. The system is playing to his strengths.
Yeah, yeah. They come at
you with Morgan
Rogers.
Back to square one.
Yeah, they come at you with Morgan Rogers and Asensio and those different boys, and they come and a bit like I'm describing Rasmus Højlund. There are different attackers running into different positions, and the defence has to think about it. So you can't focus on Rashford, and he's able to peel off. And when he peels off and he makes those wee runs in behind and stuff like that, they're finding him.
Yeah,
he's the perfect example for Manchester United fans. The whole nonsense about this cohesiveness and that the team can't seem to gel together and stuff. Unai Emery has had Marcus Rashford now for what, 2 months? 3 months?
3 or 4 months, yeah.
And he has Marcus Rashford flying. That's a good coach. That's a really good coach.
I disagree with you. And I'm not disagreeing for the sake of disagreeing, right? Marcus Rashford is playing well because Marcus Rashford knows that system, was moulded in that system. And that's a system that he fell on his face with Eric Ten Hag and now Ruben Amorim. So it's very easy. It's like people learning a piece of software.
That system.
Sorry?
Amorim doesn't play that system.
No, but that's what I'm saying. And that's why Marcus Rashford is excelling at Aston Villa, because that's a system that he knows. Not Ruben Amorim's system, where he has to come narrow. It's very easy for a player to pick up and shine in a system that suits them. It's very hard for a player sometimes to adapt to a system that's totally alien to them.
And it's a testament to a good coach to pick and bring in a player that's going to suit his system. So again, congratulations to Unai Emery for showing how good a coach he is in taking Marcus Rashford and getting him shining. So irregardless of what happened there, bravo Unai Emery.
Yeah, but he brought in a player to play his system, a ready-made player for his system.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't ready-made. He had failed in Eric Ten Hag's 4-2-3-1.
A ready-made player for Emery's system, Rory.
That's okay. Ruben Amorim aside, he was failing in Eric Ten Hag's. He was failing at Manchester United. He was playing 4-2-3-1 and looking shit, okay? And getting dug out for his performances and his misbehaviour. That was grand. Then he went to the same system in Unai Emery, being played a different way at Aston Villa. And instead of putting him out on the left-hand side, Unai Emery is trusting him up front, and he is flying. That is not on anyone but Unai Emery.
Oh, did he not score 30 goals in that system under Ten Hag?
Then he went shit. There's no consistency in it.
Yeah,
but there was an awful lot to do with his personal life as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like we're doing the Man United thing now. We're trying to protect the football club, and there's no escaping
No.
Roy Keane of all people is coming out and saying the lad is playing unplayable. Okay, they're talking now, and the reason we're having this conversation is you tried to broach it as if the football club has the right to bring him back. He's every right to fuck us off. Why would he want to come back? Why would Marcus Rashford step away from Aston Villa to come back to the graveyard of talent that is Manchester United and risk regressing back into the Manchester United way of playing football, which is droll? If he's any sense, as much as I love my football club, he should turn around to United and go, I've had my time, guys. I'd rather just stay with Villa. If Villa are in the Champions League, I like to play for Aston Villa.
Well, he was having a fair play. He doesn't suit the system anyway, so
no.
That's why I didn't like the idea of him coming back anyway. If we can get money for him, fair enough.
But does he put Cunha under pressure coming through? I truly believe the Cunha deal is done. But does Marcus Rashford's treatment by Manchester United now heap pressure on Cunha to come out the gates absolutely flying? Because if he flops or he flip-flops or he doesn't show that form, you know in your head and heart the first comparison will be to Marcus Rashford's form at Aston Villa. If Rashford was to sign for Villa and Cunha was to come in the door of United, can you imagine, say you hit December and Cunha or Amorim can't get the team playing? Let's take Cunha out of it. Put it back on the coach. Amorim can't get United playing. Cunha gets lost in Amorim's system. It all goes to shit and Rashford's playing at Villa. It'll be horrible. It'll be horrible to be.
It'll be unimaginable. It'll be.
Of course it will be horrible because Marcus Rashford, whatever you think about him, is an England international. And Matheus Cunha is Brazilian.
It'll be.
The journals will have a field day.
And rightfully so. And will we as Manchester United fans look back at this period like we did with Eric Ten Hag's and go, God, we should have realised. You can't come 17th in the Premier League and then propel yourself into a top 4 challenge.
Right. Why do people strive for the top 4?
Champions League.
Yeah. We could win the Europa League this year, Rory, and be in the Champions League next year. There's other routes to Champions League other than top 4.
True.
What
is a more achievable, consistent goal? Finishing in the top 4 in the Premier League or winning the Europa League?
Well, finishing top 4.
Finish top 4, obviously.
Yeah.
You know,
you want to be an established top 4 side in the Premier League. That's the goal.
Yeah, but that's the only point I'm trying to make is it's not the only route to Champions League football. And that's what all these clubs aspire to play is Champions League football. And all these players want Champions League football.
True. If you finish in the Europa League, okay, you've cost yourself X amount of million by not finishing the Champions League. Your end goal then is to go the whole way to the final of the tournament and win it to get into the Champions League. It's more logical to just be a top 4 side. And Manchester United must, because they are Manchester United, be a top 4 side, Mum. That is the minimal goal.
You're saying it's more logical. In my opinion, it's more prestigious to be in the top 4 than to win the Europa League.
It's
Because you're
unfortunately worth more
fourth,
money.
third, whatever, best in that league over a season.
Money killed it.
Winning a cup, it contains an awful lot of luck. You know, you're up for it on the day, your opponent isn't, you progress, they don't. You know, it's over 2 games and that's it. Whereas your progression as a football team is reflective in your position in the league.
Yeah, I'd rather win the
that's
Europa
what
League.
I get your point. But my point is there are other ways to achieve Champions League, and that's everybody's goal.
But I would rather win the Europa League. But how often will that happen? You can't go into the Europa League thinking it's okay, we could end up winning this tournament, because unfortunately, if you finish in the top 4, right, you are guaranteed the Champions League. If you finish in the top 4 comfortably, it is very likely you will do so again next year. Okay, the teams that establish themselves in around those top 4 positions, Arsenal being one, very rarely have to suffer Europa League football. Okay, in United's game plan here, United are planning to finish in the Europa League, to win the Europa League, to try and get a Champions League spot, okay? Do United look likely to achieve a Europa League spot next year? No. Do Manchester United look fit to be in the Champions League? No. So you then all of a sudden become a mid-table yo-yo team who bounces into the Champions League for a season, a bit like Aston Villa, proves that you can get to a certain stage but can't go further, and then drops out. So I take what your point is, Mum, but it always has to be a top 4 team, because a top 4 team to me shows you are good enough to be one of the top 4 teams in England. You should springboard from this. To be 17th in the Premier League and win the Europa League, you're dog shit. You just had a really good cup run in Europe against a string of teams in a new format that you should have been beaten anyway as one of the bigger teams in England. I would fully fancy, as we've seen with Tottenham Hotspur, most of the Premier League teams to go deep into the Europa League. Spurs have upset the game for United by getting to the same stage as us.
Yeah. They could likely beat us.
Don't say that.
I don't think they will. I don't think Spurs will beat us. I fear Bilbao. I think Bilbao at home will be a tough proposition. And they're going to have that added bite that when they get down to the final leg, when they get down to that second semi-leg, they're going to get into their changing room and realise, you know what, 90 minutes here against Manchester United, and the final is at home. The final is in our home stadium, our first European tournament, our fans. And that could carry them over the line. So I fear Bilbao more than Spurs.
Or it gets to them and they bottle it.
Yeah, true.
But I just think, Mum, to close off your point, Spurs killed that argument by making it to the same stage that we did. You know, you can be absolute shit and still have a good Europa League run.
We've had a terrible season and we are totally crap. I agree with you.
Yeah, yes. That's where we tie it back into the Ruben Amorim conversation. It's like, does Ruben Amorim have to shoulder some of the weight of coming in ball-headedly, sticking with this system, dragging United into 17th, and, you know, luckily surviving the Lyon game? But anyway, as a 4th point, just to finish off here, guys, I look forward, okay? Is it realistic United will finish 17th? Who are the final fixtures? So Bournemouth is next.
There's only 4 games left, isn't there?
Yeah, there's not many games. We have West Ham, Chelsea, Villa on the last day.
Manchester United are away to Bournemouth.
They're 2 clubs to have something to play for.
They're away to Bournemouth on Sunday. They're away to Bilbao then on Thursday, so you would imagine they'll have to rest a few. They'll not play the full strength against Bournemouth, so that's a loss. Then, in between the Bilbao game, they're away to Brentford.
Brentford, that was the other one.
Yeah, which is in between both Bilbao games, so you just never know. But then when they get to the back of that, they play West Ham. West Ham are going really poorly, and they're one of their teams in around us, okay? They don't have a Europa League game then after that. So they could beat West Ham because they can go for the West Ham game. The only thing is the West Ham game is the Sunday after the Thursday against Bilbao.
Yeah.
And then United's last 2 games is the easy task of going away to Chelsea and then playing at home to Aston Villa. Both chasing down the Champions League.
That's what I'm saying.
6 points max.
Well, 17 is achievable.
If even.
Do you know why I asked this one? Because I get into work and someone was taking the piss out of it, typical Scottish fans and stuff, and I thought, I just gave it back, and then they made me realise what United's remaining fixtures look like, and I wouldn't show it, but I sat and thought afterwards, oh my God, we're going to come 17th. I can only see us beating West Ham. And West Ham pick up a win anywhere in around that, it could be really, really sketchy. I can really see us finishing 17th place in the Premier League.
Especially if he's keeping players fresh for the Europa League.
That's what I was thinking. Mum,
Do you
I
think
thought
more Fredrickson and more of Almas and people like that?
He said that after the Europa League. He almost said to the fans, look, don't be expecting much till the end of the year. We are going to try the kids because we need to keep everybody fit for the Europa League. We need to win the Europa League and be in the Champions League next season. That's all the focus. So 17th incoming, lads.
Well, the only thing about that is next year the only way is up, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. It's the only way to look at it, Kieran.
Positive vibes.
Looking up.
I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, it can't happen because Leeds are back in it, and if Leeds stay in and we get relegated, I just give up as a football.
Just liquidate. Just get
it.
You have Leeds and Burnley coming up, so
yeah,
I think we'll be all right.
So we'll finish up with predictions. Bournemouth on Sunday. Mum, 2-1.
No, not this week. No? I think I'll go for 1 each.
Okay, Kieran.
I think United win 1-0.
I'm only basing this on last week. I think Bournemouth will beat us 2-0 because I don't know how you can play the full team going into the Bilbao game. If Bilbao land on the Thursday, I'd be more optimistic, but I think he won't mind if he gets beat by Bournemouth away.
No. It'll not be a shock anyway. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, if we go 1 each, I'd be chuffed.
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One point closer to the magic 40 points, what?
Here, one more question before we go. I've just thought of it, right? Does those comments from Ruben Amorim kill the rest of the season for you guys when it comes to the Premier League?
Yeah, I think the way you put it across, it kind of does.
I've really thought about it there now. It is a wee bit...
the priority is the Europa League. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think after getting through Lyon the way we did, and the way, the achievement of that and the way Old Trafford was rocking and the buzz and the push behind it, I think he knows the only way he can salvage any kind of pride this season is to win the Europa League. And it does come with extra transfer funds. Winning the competition, I think it's 85 million or something like that.
Yeah,
and then actually qualifying for the Champions League, that'll bring in extra cash flow and a better caliber of player.
Yeah, I agree.
I know I'm reaching here, right? But the feeling I got after the Lyon game, well, after I watched the replay, right, is the same feeling I got after the Coventry game in the FA Cup. Coventry should have beat us. Lyon should have beat us. And we went on to win that cup.
I have to agree with you. I did have a feeling, and I remember saying it the other night, it just feels like this is Amorim's saving grace, that he knows how to get through the Europa League now. He's had that moment. Manchester United will take confidence from that. They don't have to perform in the Premier League. I think they could go out and beat Bilbao theoretically next Thursday.
Yeah.
And none of us would be shocked after the Lyon.
Depends on the day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But
all hoping.
We'll be together the day before that to talk all things United and talk about the Bournemouth game. So thanks for listening to this, guys, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Folks. Like, subscribe.